Do you want to win with your money? I see people struggling every single day. And do you know why? Well, for the most part, it's because they don't understand how their money works. The fact is, you cannot improve anything that you're not aware of. That's why I made this series, Understanding Your Money, to help you have a better grasp of the most important financial concepts that you need to understand in order to be successful with your money. Now, I created 30 bite-sized videos teaching you everything you need so you can make the best financial decisions in your life for you. Now, without financial freedom, there is no freedom at all. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos in this series. Also, if you find value in this, please share this video out and this playlist out because of the fact that I know it's gonna help so many people. As we're entering this recession that's coming right now, actually, I would argue we're already in it. This information is more important than ever, so let's do this. Hey, what's going on, Cashflow Hacker? It is Chris. Welcome back to the Understanding Your Money series. And for this video, this is gonna be one of the most important videos in the series. I didn't do this early in the series because you had to understand a lot of the principles that I've taught in this series leading up to this to help this video make a lot more sense, because at the end of the day, more money is gonna flow through your house. If you are like the average everyday American, more money is gonna flow through your house than almost any other asset that you have in your life. So therefore, how you manage this asset in your life can have massive implications on you achieving your financial goals or not. And so what I wanna do in this video is I wanna walk you through step by step by step all the ways to think about how your house works as an asset in your life, right? Because I know a lot of people will tell you that Dave Ramsey will say your house is an asset. Robert Kiyosaki will say, well, if you have a rental home, it's an asset, but if you have a primary home, it's a liability. I believe the truth exists somewhere in between, and it's all about mindset and just understanding the game and understanding all the variables and the rules of the game so you can make the best educated decision for you. And I'm gonna cover every single thing that you need to understand in this video. So let's just get right into this. This is gonna be really, really fun. So here we go. Check this out. So I got a couple questions to ask you first and foremost. I wanna get a gauge of what you believe to be true and not true about your mortgage getting into this. True or false? A large down payment saves you money on your mortgage. I just want you to think about it. I'm not gonna get into details, but I want you to think about that. A large down payment will save you money on your mortgage. True or false? A 15-year mortgage will save you more money, will save you money on interest than a 30-year mortgage. It's gonna save you money over time. It's gonna help your house become less expensive than a 30-year mortgage. 15 years better than a 30-year mortgage. And then number 3, true or false, extra principal payments are gonna save you money. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you have a $2,000 mortgage, you wanna make extra principal payments every month. Do you believe that by making extra principal payments to pay down your mortgage faster, let's say you paid $2,500 a month instead of the $2,000 a month, is that gonna save you money on your mortgage compared to just paying it off as it is? So I want you to think about that as we go. Now, this is something I want you to really wrap your head around and understand before we get into all the other detailed nuances in this video. That is, you finance everything in your life. And here's what I mean by it. You either utilize a bank and you finance it through traditional financial vehicles like a mortgage, right? Or you self-finance and you pay cash, because make no mistake about it, when you pay cash, you are self-financing, because we've talked about this. You've watched the video on opportunity cost, right? When you spend money, you don't just lose that dollar, lose control of that dollar, you lose what that dollar could earn for you forever, right? So there is opportunity cost. And so you can't just pay cash for something and not take into account the fact that you're self-financing that vehicle, because you have that opportunity cost expense that goes along with giving up control of that money. So let's talk about why you might want to have a mortgage. Aside from the fact that a lot of people will need a mortgage, because let's face it, most people don't have the cash to pay cash for a home, right? If you got going after buying a $400,000 home, most people don't have $400,000 just sitting around to pay cash for a home. What we're going to be doing in this video is talking about extremes and kind of different variables in between. So we're going to talk about the variables of paying cash, because if you can understand the principle of paying cash versus financing completely, and then you can understand all the different variants in between, now you can make better decisions. So The reasons people have a mortgage outside of needing one are you get to write off interest expenses, right? So that's a benefit. There's tax benefits of having a mortgage if you are in the right income brackets, right? The potential spread on the cost of the money, i.e. what is your mortgage rate, and what that money could earn you. That's something to really think about, right? And so then the other one is just the control of your capital. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you have your money in your home, you don't actually control that money. That money is controlled by the bank. And that's not a small deal. And I'm gonna get into more details as to why that is such a big deal. Now, before going there, you can see I've got this broken down step by step. This is gonna be a lot of fun. So let's talk about inflation and your mortgage, right? Inflation and your mortgage. So I did a video on inflation before. Now you can see if you go up there, if you haven't watched a video on inflation, it's key, go back, watch it, understand inflation and your money, how inflation impacts you. I didn't get into in that video how important inflation impacts your mortgage because I knew I was gonna do this video. I knew we would do a deeper dive into this, but think about it like this. If you remember, from 1971 to 1921, we've had an average rate of inflation of 3.92%, right? So that's since going off the gold standard in 1971, we've had an average rate of inflation of 3.92%. So I don't know if you know this, but your mortgage actually benefits from inflation because what happens is when you have a mortgage, if you have a fixed mortgage rate, let's say we have an assumed 3% inflation rate, like I'm going under the 3.92%. I'm just saying we're gonna give you a 3% inflation rate assumption. So these numbers actually historically will look better than what I'm showing you, but I wanna be really conservative. So let's say you have a $2,000 mortgage payment today in today's dollars, and you got a 30-year $2,000 principal and interest fixed mortgage payment. Well, that means that's what you're paying today, but that's fixed. So as inflation goes up, that means the value of that $2,000, you're gonna be making the same nominal payment, but your wage increases and the way inflation works, it's gonna become worth less and less and less. $2,000 10 years from now is not gonna be worth what $2,000 is today. In fact, 10 years from now, you're still gonna be cutting that same $2,000 check, but it's only gonna feel like $1,488.19 in today's money. That's not a small deal. In 20 years, you're still gonna make that $2,000 payment, but it's only gonna feel like $1,100. That's a little dark, so I'll draw it out. $1,107.35, okay? That's 20 years from now. And then finally, when you stroke your final check of $2,000 and you pay your mortgage off, if you hadn't refinanced it, depending on the mortgage rates and all these things and what you would do, but your final check you stroke for $2,000, however, it's only gonna feel like $823.97 in today's dollars. So you effectively, because of inflation, how it works, you have a fixed interest rate on your mortgage and you get a discount year in, year out as far as your purchasing power goes. So that's another reason you wanna lock in that expense, because don't forget, if you're renting, right? And if you own a rental home, this is another reason you want mortgage payments on your rental homes, because your mortgage payment is fixed, but what do you get to do every year? You get to charge more money. Maybe you build in a 5% cost of living adjustment, COLA, in your lease with your thing. So you have an increase of 5% every single year. So you can build in better spreads right away. So even if you have a cash flowing house right out of the gate, you can make it get better and better returns as time goes on in rental properties. But as far as how it pertains to your primary residence, if you were renting, you're on the other flip side of this. If you're paying $2,000 in rent today, well, guess what? Next year you might be paying $2,100. Then a year after you might be paying $2,200, $2,300. And so you don't get to realize that, whereas you get a discount over here, right? Because it's staying the same. And so that is a way to protect yourself. And so let's talk about this now. Let's get into a little more detail. Let's talk about opportunity cost and your down payment. So, okay, we've talked about just the concept of inflation in your house. Now let's talk about, okay, what are we doing with the opportunity cost of our house? The first thing we have to think about is if you don't have enough money to pay cash, and we're gonna get there, but let's say you have a $400,000 house and you need to put $20,000 down, or 20% down, I mean, that comes to $80,000, right? And so what does that mean? Now, what is the opportunity cost on this house? And how, once again, how we finance our homes is gonna have a massive impact on our wealth potential, right? Because this is going to be the biggest asset that ever goes through your life. And so let's face it, $80,000 is not a small amount of money for most people in this world. I would say pretty much everybody would take $80,000 very, very seriously. And so 20-year opportunity cost on this. Listen, it's different because I don't want to come up and say, hey, you're going to get this whatever opportunity cost, because it depends on your risk profile and what you want to do. So what this is saying though is that 4%, that 80,000, if you just put it in an account earning 4%, the opportunity cost is 97,000 and change. If you put it at 6%, you're looking at 184,816, and 8%, $314,144. So the opportunity cost is obviously going to be different based on you and your profile, your risk profile, your skills, your abilities to go out and invest, and where you want to keep your money. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but I think it's key to understand. You have to kind of look at this and be like, all right, that's not insignificant, right? Because like the bottom line is that means if the house didn't increase because of this down payment, because of it, not just increase, but due to the down payment, i.e. if you think about your house as an investment, the investment, if that's the case, it means the house has to go up due to the fact that you injected capital into it. Remember, your house is going to go up in value or down in value regardless of how you have it funded, whether you have it financed 100% or paid off cash 100%. Doesn't matter the amount of equity that you have in your house as far as the value of the house goes. And so when you do that, it's important to understand that. So the bottom line is that house isn't going to go up in value because of that. But the bottom line is if it doesn't go up in direct correlation, 97,807 with this 80,000, you basically had an opportunity cost expense or loss. And if you're willing and able to go out because of the liquidity of this 80,000, if you could go out and over that next 20 years, this 20-year time frame, if you could turn this 80,000 into 314, doing 8% investments in other assets, maybe it's other real estate investments, which, by the way, 8% in other cash flowing real estate investments, utilizing this money, no brainer, right? Like other assets, you could do this easy all day long as you understand what you're doing, right? And so, once again, I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just taking a look at this being like, all right, what's the opportunity cost of a down payment of a house? And you could see it's upwards of $314,000 or more. I would even say it could be higher than that if you find the right investments and you have the right skills and the right network and all that stuff, right? So what I was saying before is your house is not a good place to park your money. Your house is going to go up in value or down in value regardless of the equity that you have in the home, right? But a lot of people look at their house and the internal rate of return wrong, right? They look at it and they'd say, all right, well, I bought a house for $400,000. The value today is $700,000. So they go, oh, I got $300,000 equity. Well, guess what? There are expenses in your house, right? Let's just say, and I'm being really, really conservative. I'm saying over a 10-year period that you have $80,000 of expenses. Now, I'm not gonna get into taxes and insurance and all that stuff because if you were to rent, chances are that was gonna get pushed onto you anyway. I'm just gonna talk about the upkeep of the house. I'm gonna talk about needing to upgrade cabinets, redo flooring, air conditioning units, pool pumps. I've lived in my house for 2 years. Since I've moved in, I've had to replace both air conditioning units, a pool pump, a pool heater. We've got, there's just money. We've had to repaint cabinets and redo things, and we are doing things to upgrade the house, right? And that's just in 2 years that we've been in this house. And so over a 10-year period, to assume that you're gonna pay about $8,000 a year for a $400,000 house for upkeep is pretty conservative. That's pretty reasonable. And so when you back this out, is it a good place to park your money? That's the equivalent of a 3.85% internal rate of return. And remember, I showed you 3.92% is the rate of inflation average over the past 50 years, right? And so even if we did 3% or something like that, you're not really outpacing inflation much by parking your money in your house. So it just goes to show that it doesn't make sense to park your money in your home. It's not a good investment from that perspective. So this is one of my favorite slides to get into, because when you start understanding this, let's take a look at this. The opportunity cost of paying for your house. And I'm gonna do this for now. And I'm gonna work on this over here, and we'll get into the other side of it after. So why is it that people pay cash for the home if they have it? Well, it's to avoid the interest expense, right? Because if you think about it, Let's say you had a $400,000 house and you could go get a 6.5% mortgage, right? Mortgage rate of 6.5%. What does that do for you? That brings you to a payment of $2,528 monthly principal and interest payment. What does that mean? That means on top of the $400,000, you have a $510,178 interest expense, right? So combine those two together, your principal and interest is $910,178. So the reason that you would pay cash here is to avoid this $510,178 of interest expense, right? That is why you would pay cash, is because you want to avoid that expense. Now, here's the problem. And this is really important to understand, and I'll do this here. So if you were to, instead of pay cash, finance at 100%, which once again, maybe you have to put a little down, maybe you got to put 3% down, but once again, we're talking an extreme principle, but you can, once you understand the extreme principles, you can back your way in and understand the variables to make a better decision for yourself. So if you were to invest that $400,000 and get the same 6.5% return, and you were to compound this return over a 30-year period, you would have $2,796,719. You back out the $910,000 that you have for total principal and interest over that same 30-year period. Basically, it says paying cash for this house is a $1,886,541 opportunity cost error when it comes to buying your house. Now, this is where a lot of people get kind of confused, right? Because they're like, wow, if I was paying 6.5% and I was earning 6.5%, shouldn't this just be a wash? Because this is what most people think. This is why I always tell people math and money are different. Because what's happening is over here, if you don't understand this, you need to understand this principle that when you have a mortgage rate, this is a declining, what we call amortized loan, meaning the amount of interest that you pay every month goes down and down and down and down, because yes, you're paying a high percentage to your mortgage every single month, but it gets less and less and less and less every month. You start chipping away at that, and eventually a higher percentage is going to the principal and less to the interest. But the bottom line is it's an amortized, meaning the interest that you're paying is less and less every single month. Over here, when you invest, it's a compounding loan, right? So it's gonna grow and grow and grow and grow. So I could show you actually how, even if you were to take this and not get 6.5, right? And if you were to get 4%, earn 4% compounded over that time and pay 6.5%, you still come out ahead over here, right? And that, when you understand this game, when you understand this principle and this concept and this element of money math, then you understand that it starts to have a huge impact on how you make your financial decisions. Now, I'm not going to say there's not discipline and execution that has to be implemented by you to be able to be successful with this, but the bottom line is, this is why I always tell people, you have to become who you need to be to get to where you want to go. And listen, if this is the biggest asset that goes through your life, don't you think you owe it to yourself and your family and your legacy and the generations to come? If this could make, let's face it, most Americans right now, the average 65-year-old has about $250,000 in retirement, right? That's what the average 65-year-old has right now. I could show you just in what you're doing and how you're managing and paying for your house right now, how you could have an extra $250,000 minimally in your retirement account just from a financial efficiency perspective. And this is the problem with the financial world. People don't understand this, and you need to. Now, let's break it down and make it a little more simple for people to understand. So let's talk about a 15-year versus a 30-year mortgage, okay? So a 30-year mortgage here, a lot of people say, well, Dave Ramsey would say you never get a 30, always get a 15, because if you can't afford it, you shouldn't do it. Well, a 15-year mortgage at $400,000, let's say you get 6% instead of a 6.5%, because you're always going to get a discount because the cost of money is cheaper on a little bit of a shorter term loan, so we want to take that into consideration. So you got a $3,375 monthly payment. After 15 years, you don't need any return. The house is just going to be paid off. You got your house free and clear in a 15-year after 15 years. Now, the question is, on a 30-year, if we went in with a $400,000 home at a 6.5% mortgage rate, that's going to get us at a $2,528 mortgage. So the difference here, let's just call it $800. It's a little more than that, but let's just call it 800 bucks. If you were to take that $800, the spread between this number and this number, right? That spread, and you were to invest that, what would you need to earn in a side fund to have this house paid off in 15 years? Because remember, the goal is to have the house paid off, right? And when is the house paid off? The house is paid off when we have enough money in our account to stroke a check. But at the end of the day, it's all about control. We want to control our money at the same time, right? Having our house parked in our house doesn't make sense, right? Because we don't have control of that money. So what happens if we need to tap into it? You're not going to be able to access it when you need it most, right? And so having that control, if you can have your cake and eat it too, why wouldn't you, right? And so the goal here is to have the house paid off, but we still want a mortgage. You just want to be able to have a check, enough money in a side fund that you could stroke a check if you needed to pay that house off in an emergency. So what would you need in that side fund? And this just goes to prove you could earn 6 in 15 years, or you pay 6 in 15 years, but if you earn 5.41 in a side fund, this is the concept between amortized loans, where you're paying less and less interest, and compounding interest growth over here, you earn 5.41, that's the break even. Now, anything you earn above and beyond the 5.41 will just pay this off earlier. Instead of 15 years, maybe it's paid off in 14 years, right? So not only did you pay off your house faster, you still have more control of the money all the while. Because what happens 8-9 years in when you're going to pay your mortgage on a 15-year mortgage? It's all about control, or lack thereof, in a 15-year mortgage. Because guess what? In a 15-year mortgage, 8 years in, you pay it, you got this $3,375 monthly expense, and you lose your job and you still have cash flow issues, right? And you know, you have to dip into savings and all these different things, or maybe you don't have enough savings, or I don't know what your situation is, because you haven't probably saved enough. What happens if it takes you a year to find another job? That's $33,000 something, or almost $40,000 just in income that you need, or side fund just to pay your mortgage and cover it. Well, guess what? If you have it this way, it's a smaller monthly nut to have to cover, right? Plus, you're going to have all that money liquid in a side fund, because remember, all this money that you've built up in equity, if you need to do a cash out refi or a HELOC or something like that, when you lose your job, you're not going to be able to tap into it. So you have no control, or much, much less control in the 15-year. You have infinitely more control in a 30-year, plus you can have it paid off actually faster if you make good financial decisions. And I would say that you should be able to do the 5.41% no-brainer style over that period of time. Now, let's talk about tax savings, and this is going to be it. Because when you break it all down, I mean, if you understand the journey that we're on, and you understand, I mean, I've showed you hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can recapture just in the way that you pay off your mortgage. And this is one extra way that's going to show you that you can create even more money, where we say tax savings. So assuming a 30% tax bracket, 15-year mortgage is going to get you about $62,273 of tax write-offs, right? A 30-year mortgage is going to get you about $153,000. Now, what is the opportunity, not cost, but value if you were to realize these tax savings, right? The opportunity value on a 15-year mortgage, meaning if you were to invest the tax savings that you had every year, and because listen, if you have the mortgage, that's extra money that's coming through your pocket that you get to write off. If you were to invest that, assuming the 6.5%, that's I think what this is based on, you're looking at a 15-year opportunity value of those tax savings is $314,916. So when you take just that, this is already more, that value of that savings is already more money than people typically have in their retirement accounts. So think about that. And a 30-year tax value of the opportunity cost is $567,433. And so right here, this is the most important part. When you understand that opportunity cost, inflation, distribution, cash flow, control of money, you being the person who understands all the different moving parts and all the rules of the game and how they work on the chessboard, it starts to have an impact on how you start to look at how you make major capital purchases, how you make different investments, whether you're buying rental properties, whether you're buying a single family home. The tax, everything I'm talking about in here is applicable. And how you navigate this, how you handle your house, whether you're a multimillionaire already, or whether you're somebody who's just trying to get ahead, I promise you how you navigate this is why I love doing what we do with the infinite banking stuff that we do. How you handle this is going to either put hundreds of thousands of dollars more in your pocket in retirement, or you're going to lose control of that money and be in a more financially vulnerable state along the way. So if you have any questions, comment in the comment section below. Once again, if you haven't already, if this is the first video that you've seen in this series, go back, subscribe, hit the bell, go at the end of this. I've got the playlist listed in the end screen. Click on that, go back to the beginning, learn all the principles. I've got a 30 video series coming out teaching the basics of understanding your money so you can make the best decisions when it comes to your personal finances. And of course, at any point in time in this journey, if you want to get on the phone with one of my coaches, you can go down in the description below, set up your free complimentary consultation clarity call with one of the coaches. It's not designed to sell you. It's designed to learn more about you, learn more about what's going on in your life, what your goals, what your objectives are, and figure out how we can help you get there faster by increasing your financial efficiency. So that's it for today. Have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon.